We begin with a new report that details some sobering findings about abuse and assault in Canadian sport. The authors say sport in this country has lost its way, and as a result, athletes of all ages and abilities are suffering.
As we have repeatedly heard throughout our work, maltreatment in sport, including physical punishment, sexual assault, training while injured, humiliation, intimidation, isolation tactics, failures to provide medical care, discrimination, and exploitation continue to permeate at all levels.
The report from the Future of Sport in Canada Commission found that the Canadian sports system is in crisis. The commission heard that there are deeply ingrained issues across the country, from a culture of silence that has led to abuse and maltreatment to underfunding and a lack of diversity. Among the recommendations from the commission, creating an independent entity that would be charged with overseeing sport and physical activity across the country, and to eliminate barriers to sport. The commission was created back in 2023 after athletes spoke out about systemic abuse. Well, joining us now is Carla Qualtrough, former Paralympic swimmer and former Minister of Sport and Physical Activity for this country. Carla, first of all, let me get your reaction to this report. I'm sure a lot of this doesn't surprise you, but to see it on paper and to see it announced today, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, first of all, I am incredibly grateful to the commission for their work. I'm incredibly grateful to the survivors and victims who bravely participated in a process that they had no reason to trust. And I think that the results today and the preliminary report speak to that bravery and that dedication on behalf of the commission. So super hard to hear. But unfortunately, no, a lot of it didn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's the thing, I guess, right now, Carla, is that we talk about, at least at this point, we know there are so many issues. You've played high-level sport in this country. Again, I've played sports here in my entire life. A lot of athletes across this country have known about issues for a very long time, yet nothing has changed, and it feels like it is taking a long time to get to this point. Why do you think that is, and why do we have to have a report like this released today in order to hopefully, once again, try to initiate some of that change?
Well, first of all, we can't ever give up. It's too important. So we need to always keep fighting for the sport we want in this country. And why did it take so long? I honestly can't answer that. It's unfortunate. Sport is woefully underfunded. It's not sufficiently regulated. Governments don't have the tools they need. A lot has happened, and I'm just grateful to the athletes that kept fighting for this day, and I'm glad this day has come.
And I want to ask you, too, about the athletes in particular and what this will mean for them in order to try to make things better, right? In reading some of these stories, I haven't been able to get a lot of my way through the report, but in reading some of what the commission was told over and over again, it is heartbreaking and disturbing at the same time.
It sure is. And I can tell you, as a parent and as just a Canadian, we should be really ashamed that we let these things happen. It's happening, and we sit by as parents, we sit by as leaders, as administrators, and we all kind of shrug, and we can't do that anymore. And this is why I'm hopeful, because I think the commission has given us an opportunity. The saying that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Well, the second best time is today, right? Today we can start making this change, and we owe it to our kids to do it.
You've been a minister. You understand this situation, I think, better than most. What comes next now? What would you like to see happen? This report is out there. It's been done. What, one or two things would you like to see happen as a result of it?
Well, first of all, the process isn't finished, so let's be very clear that there is a summit coming up where these recommendations are going to be tested, and then the final report is coming early next year. So let's see what the final report recommendations look for the big stuff. But absolutely, there's things governments, organizations can do right away that the commission is recommending. So let's start taking action. Let's put in place those policies. Let's fund sport better. We can't fix this system without significant financial investments in it. We can't ask people to fix a system this broken and still only continue to fund it at the levels we're funding it. And we can set in place a bunch of the things they're recommending, but I actually urge people to continue to contribute, right? Because if these recommendations are as they are now, imagine how robust they're going to be in early spring next year, when the commission has had a chance to hear from Canadians again on what we think about what they're saying so far.
So certainly understand that little bit of hope too as we kind of inch closer to it. And you talk about funding, and you talk about maybe a little bit more government oversight. One of those recommendations was having that independent entity coming in, taking over sport. For you, what would that look like ideally, and how soon could something like that, again, once this process plays out, I understand that,
Right.
but how
Right.
soon could that come
Absolutely.
into effect?
Well, I mean, political will is political will. And governments have proven that when they want to act, they can act quickly. Many countries around the world have national sport agencies or commissions. Look at New Zealand, look at Australia, look at England. There are models out there. We can learn from what they've done. There's a lot of organizations doing really good work, but there's too many of them in this country. We can turn a bunch of the functions that these individual organizations are doing into a national agency that is properly resourced, that reduces the administrative burden on organizations, and that invests that money in sport better. While at the same time, if we legislate an agency, we can provide better tools for governments to hold organizations accountable. The reality right now is the only tool the government of Canada has is a contract. And if your organization isn't funded by the government of Canada, we can't tell you have any requirements for how you run sport in your area. And that's just dangerous.
Right. And so just to be clear, you believe the federal government should be funding that overall independent entity too?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's well overdue. I'm excited. I mean, I'm one who's always hopeful, and I'm such a believer in the potential of sport. So you're never going to hear me say we can't do this better, but you're never going to hear me say we've done enough, because we haven't. Because the evidence is in. We got to do something, Canada, and it's time to do it.
There are millions of kids being affected by this every single day. Carla Qualtrough, we appreciate your time, and we'll be sure to check in with you, too, as this process plays out. Thanks for this.
My pleasure, and congratulations to the Commission, and thank you to all the victims and survivors who bravely stood up. I'm super proud of you all.